Everyone in Nigeria is talking about insecurity everywhere you turn. News, social media, the street. You hear the same thing. The country is not safe. Bandit again. Kidnappers again. Another attack. But let's pause. Let's breathe. Because before we start shouting solution, before we blame the police, the government, or the system, we must confront one chilling truth. And that is, you cannot secure a country you cannot count. You cannot plan for people who are invisible on paper. You cannot protect citizens who do not statistically exist. You cannot build a nation on guess and assumption. For nearly 20 years, Nigeria has been running blind. No updated nationwide census, no reliable demographic map, no real-time population structure, just estimates, assumption, and political guesswork. And guess what? A country built on guesswork will always deliver guesswork results. Let's go back in time, not too far, just 1866. This was the year the British did their first population counting in Nigeria. But it wasn't really a national census. It was simply the British checking the areas that were convenient for them. They counted the South. The North, they left it mostly untouched until 1952, almost 90 years later. Why? Because the North dynasties at that time were too powerful, organized, and fiercely independent. The British could not easily access or control their territories, so they didn't bother counting them properly. That means from the very beginning, population counting in Nigeria was never about understanding the people. It was about controlling them. Not about planning development, but about distributing power. And this early foundation is still haunting us in 2025. For decades now, Nigeria has been trapped in a circle of suspicion. One region believes it's been undercounted, another fears being outnumbered, political manipulated numbers for political advantage, citizens stop trusting the process. And when fear becomes stronger than truth, nobody wins. Because the real victims are ordinary Nigerians, the market women, the bus drivers, the nurses, the farmers, the students, parents, hustlers, people who just want a better life. The last official census Nigeria conducted was in 2006. Think about that. A whole generation of Nigeria has been born since then. Tens of millions of people, mass migration, urban expansion, technological shift, war, insecurity, displacement. But the data we are using today is from almost 2 decades ago. It's like using a 2006 phone to solve 2025 problems. It simply cannot work. Let me tell a simple story that every Nigerian in a major city can relate to. Let's use Amaka for example, a young nurse working in a government hospital in Lagos. Every day, Amaka reports to work at 6:30 a.m. By 7 a.m., the hospital waiting room is filled. Mothers with crying babies, old men coughing, pregnant women sitting on the floor, accident victims being rushed in. A hospital built to serve 300,000 people is now handling over 1 million people. But on paper, on government documents, the area still counts as 300,000 people. So that's the budget allocated. That's the number of beds funded. That's the number of doctors approved. That's the number of drugs provided. Every day, Amaka watches people struggling, not because they are sick, but because the system is sick. Why? Because the missing people are invisible in the budget. Now multiply the story by thousands of schools, hospitals, road, water, systems, and security posts across the country. This is the real cost of an outdated census. The missing millions do not appear. They show up as a problem. Let's continue. In places like Lagos, Kano, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Onitsha, Kaduna, millions of people are living in areas that were designed for half their current population. So what happens? Roads collapse faster. Traffic becomes a nightmare. hospitals overflow, schools run 3 shifts, water and electricity fails, crime increases, police becomes overwhelming, and community becomes more vulnerable. These problems are not random. They are the direct predicable consequences of planning a 2025 country with 2006 data. Imagine you have a family of 12 but cook food for 7 every night. Would there be peace in that house? Exactly. This is Nigeria today. Insecurity thrives in chaos and data blindness. Now, let's talk about the insecurity. How do you deploy police effectively if you don't know how many people lives in an area? How do you track migration? How do you design patrol route? How do you plan emergency responses? How do you predict population pressure? How do you allocate intelligent resources? Of course, the answer: you can't. And here is the scary part. Insecurity grows faster in places where the government has no real demographic presence, no accurate map, no proper count, no defined boundary, no trusted data. This is why bandits can operate easily in sparsely mapped regions. It is not just about weapons or numbers. It is about the element of invisibility. You cannot secure what you cannot see. You cannot protect people who do not officially exist. A nation moving fast cannot use numbers that are moving backward. Nigeria is one of the fastest growing nations on earth. But we are using a census from when BlackBerry phone were trending, from when MTN data was 100 naira per day, when no one has ever heard of TikTok, when no bank apps were there. Nigeria has never fewer than 500,000 of internet users, when Lagos was still manageable, when Abuja was still calm and sparsely populated, when Imo, Anambra, Rivers, Kano had not exploded in migration number. The world has changed dramatically, but our official population number have not. It's like trying to run today's world on Windows 98. The 3 questions every serious nation can answer, every organized country, no matter how big or small, must always be able to answer these 3 basic questions, which are: how many are we? Who are we? And where do we live? Nigeria cannot answer any of these 3 questions with certainty in 2025. And that is the real danger. Not just the bandits, not just the kidnappers, not just the criminals. The real danger is ignorance, national scale ignorance. Let's leave Nigeria for a second. In 2010, India conducted a massive census, the largest in human history. Over 2.7 million workers traveled across the country, counting everyone that they could find. Why? Because India realized that planning blindly was more expensive than counting people. After the census, they discovered millions of children missing from school. They found regions with weak policing. They uncovered areas with no healthcare access. They noticed cities growing too fast. They identified aging population in rural areas. They restructured entire region based on what they discovered. And the result? Better infrastructure planning, better policing, better education distribution, better political representation, simply because they counted their people properly. Now imagine what Nigeria could discover if we finally conducted a proper, transparent, unpoliticized census.